Good afternoon, bon après-midi tout le monde. Your Honor, Lieutenant Governor, General Grant, Minister, Deputy Mayor, Council, Members of Parliament, members of our law enforcement community, ladies and gentlemen, visitors, I can't help but think of what an inspiring honor it is to be here in the presence of all on this somber occasion. Inspiring to see our cadets, our guides, our members of student council who are here representing our youth and our future. And it's a poignant day, a loss of life to be remembered, those we never knew, and yet we feel the enormity, the sadness, the calamity of a century ago. For today marks the 100th anniversary of the sinking of RMS Titanic and the loss of 1,500 lives aboard. A disaster so shocking it reverberated literally around the globe, but no more so than here in Halifax in the province of Nova Scotia. Generation after generation, the Titanic disaster has been etched in the public imagination, the subject of song and story, documentaries, even a Hollywood blockbuster movie by a famous Canadian, James Cameron. And thank you, Mr. Pinson, for your words today. Poetry, inspiring. Over the decades, the Titanic has symbolized many things. For some, the hubris of humanity, it was mentioned earlier, this magnificent ship proved no match for the awesome forces of nature. For others, human courage and sacrifice in the face of terrible misfortune. And clearly the disaster was monumentous, terrifying, and tragic, and touched the lives of so many here in this city, in this province. Built in Belfast and the pride of the White Star Line on a maiden voyage, state-of-the-art technology, a collection of people from many walks of life, and a unique set of circumstances that all resulted in the deaths of far too many souls, far too soon in the icy Atlantic. And with the passage of time, we now know more about those victims. I couldn't help but be struck by the small boy who's here with us today, near the tomb of, until recently, an unnamed boy similar in age. A century after that terrible night, we now know the identity of that little boy. Thanks to modern forensic science, the shoes that were found in the Maritime Museum of the Atlantic belonged to Sidney Leslie Goodwin, an infant of English descent. But one example of a life lost too soon and a promise unfulfilled, but at peace at last. And like Sidney's family, the sinking of the Titanic brought tragedy to hundreds of families and communities on both sides of the Atlantic. No Canadian province more affected than Nova Scotia, and no Canadian community more so than Halifax. Halifax then, as on other occasions, became a city of sorrow, but rose to the occasion, accommodated grief-stricken families, and practically helped and accepted the somber task of giving the dead their distinguished interment and final resting places like those we gather in today. White Star Line chartered the Halifax-based cable ship CS Mackay Bennett, and we heard about their enormous contributions. Each ship left port with undertakers, clergy, embalming supplies, and far too few coffins to accommodate the carnage that awaited. By the time the ship reached the site of the tragedy, the winds and current had scattered bodies and debris for miles. Many of the victims had sunk beneath the waves. And yet, here in Halifax, people prepared for the grim task of accepting 150 victims who eventually found their resting places here. And it is for all those reasons that Halifax continues to have such a strong connection to the Titanic disaster. The headstones here are a stark reminder of those who lost their lives, forever linking this city with the tragedy that is Titanic. Aujourd'hui, nous reconnaissons le rôle déterminant qui ces Canadiennes et ces Canadiennes ont joué au moment de retrouver les victimes de HMS Titanic et nous leur rendons l'honneur. Leurs efforts ont apporté des réconforts aux familles des personnes décédées et ont contribué au riche héritage de la population canadienne de la région de l'Atlantique qui a fait face à cette tragédie avec grâce, respect et courage. Today we also honor and recognize the key role that Canadians played in recovering those victims and supporting their families. A reminder, as we heard earlier, of the important role of search and rescue today in modern times, and a testament to the compassionate character of this city and those who continue to serve. In many ways, our police, our fire services, emergency responders. Their efforts brought comfort to the families of the deceased and add to the great legacy of Atlantic Canadians who face such tragedy with grace, respect, and fortitude. Ladies and gentlemen, on the 100th anniversary of this great tragedy, I'm proud to announce a commemorative plaque to recognize the key role that Canadians from this great city and beyond played in recovering the victims, an event of national interest. May their example provide inspiration to all who face adversity, a stoic reminder of the perils of life at sea. And may their actions, so long ago, continue to bring comfort to the families who suffered loss. I thank Parks Canada in particular and all the representatives of Search and Rescue who are with us today. And I thank everyone for being here and honoring the sense of duty we all join in mourning those who died on that terrible night 100 years ago today. Thank you. Merci. God bless.